Hello everyone, this is my new video about ArgoCD monitoring template. This video is just an update of my previous video, because in the previous version of ArgoCD monitoring template there were some mistakes and issues that I fixed. So I decided to make new video and keep old one on my channel, so to show you a work on mistakes. This video is just a quick showcase of updates in this template. So if you're not familiar with this template and what we do here, I recommend you to watch my previous video where I show this template and tell everything about how it works. There are a lot of theoretical part in the previous video, so if you're not familiar with the ArgoCD or monitoring tools that we use, I recommend you to watch my previous video. So let's move to the repository. Let's start with the Argo apps folder. I have added some application sets here. So for example, Prometheus rules and Prometheus scrape configs. In the last version of this template, there was a problem that when we created Prometheus rules and they were deployed to all clusters. And in other words, we could not set custom rules for a specific cluster or type of clusters. So for example, we added rules about problem notification in Kubernetes cluster. So for example, node memory pressure, but we want to receive these notifications only from the production environment, and we couldn't do that. And now this feature is available. We just specify in a specific application set the type of cluster with labels where we want to deploy the rules, and that's all. So for example, we have application set for Prometheus rules only for development clusters. So as we can see, we use cluster generator with match labels environment dev. So you can set any label here that you want, but I use this. And same for infra and production clusters. And same situation with scrape configs. Now you will be able to create exact collection of Prometheus rules for exact cluster that you want or type of clusters. Another important fix is that I replaced the vanilla Prometheus Helm chart with another chart, namely kubeprometheus tag. I can think of two reasons why I did this. First of all, vanilla Prometheus does not create CRDs in the cluster. I mean service monitors, scrape configs, Prometheus rule, and others. And we had to deploy them separately using a different Helm chart. Now we don't need to do that since they are part of the same wall. There is no point in Prometheus inside a Kubernetes cluster without CRDs. And the second reason is that vanilla Prometheus doesn't know how to automatically find out CRDs. And we have to manually route them in config maps and mount them to Prometheus. For example, if you had a large number of rules and scrape configs, you will have to mount their config maps to the Prometheus instance directly. This is very inconvenient and almost impossible to manage if there are many of these entities, like scrape configs and rules. So as we can see here, I changed vanilla Prometheus Helm chart for kubeprometheus tag, and there is a new values for this Helm chart. As we can see here, we have these values like rule selector, service monitor, scrape config selector, nil uses Helm values. By default, these values are true, and if you create rule selector in namespace monitoring 2 and deploy kubeprometheus tag in namespace just monitoring, it will not find these roles or service monitors in another namespace. So when we have true values, kubeprometheus tag will auto-discover CRDs only within same cluster where kubeprometheus tag are deployed. So that's the reason why I turned it false. The next thing I added here, it is Loki rules. It is an application, not an application set, for the reason that we need to explore Loki rules in the same cluster where Loki itself. So that's why we use application, and we don't need to use application set. So as we can see here, we have application Loki rules. Yeah. And Loki rules are just config maps, and Loki is also able to auto-discover these config maps and mount them. In other words, we do not need to manually specify each new rule or its path in our Loki values. For this purpose, Loki has configured a sidecar and a path where the rules will be mounted. So for example, as we can see here, we have a sidecar and rules folder here. Beware that this settings works only if you have only one tenant. So in other words, if you do not use multi-tenant in Loki. And as we can see here, we just set it here and we set it here. So, and after this, Loki will be able to auto-discover all Loki roles inside your cluster, which are wrapped in config maps. You just simply create a new role in the Loki roles folder and it will be automatically mounted and put into use. So as we can see here, there is an example of Loki roles config map, and very important thing that you need to specify label Loki role true. So Loki will be able to auto-discover this config map. So, and now we will be able to make alerts not just for metrics, but also we can make alerts and for logs too, like using Loki rules. And it is very useful. I hope you will enjoy this template, and thank you for watching.